Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. My name is Ash, co-founder of ScaleMate, and today I'll just be going over a basic introduction on VoiceFlow, where I'll be explaining how the different steps and tools that we use in our chatbots work. So the purpose of this video is just to get you familiar with what we do here at ScaleMate and what we use to actually create our chatbots. So let's get straight into it. So this is the VoiceFlow Workspace, where we create all of our custom flows for our chatbots. And so I'm just going to introduce to you briefly the different steps and blocks that we use in creating our AI assistants. Event allows you to drag an intent block, and it represents what a user means or intends to do when they interact with your bot. So you can select trigger intent and you create a new intent, and you can basically hook it up to that. And so once the bot understands that the user is intending for this action, it'll skip straight over to this intent, which you put into a different topic. So in the AI block, we have response AI and set AI. And response AI allows you to generate contextual speech or text responses in real time as a user interacts with your assistant. So then you have set AI. So based on what the user says, the AI will set up a variable which you can use in future parts of the conversation. So that's pretty useful. So now you have the talk blocks, and this is basically anything that you want the assistant to output. We have text, and that's just any text that you can make the assistant safe. You can also add an image. You can also add a card, which is what a lot of e-commerce stores will use. And that basically allows you to add your products. And you can also add a carousel, which is just a collection of cards. Now you also have the listen blocks. So this is anything that you want to input into the assistant. So we have buttons here, and basically they're like text bubbles that the user can click on to move the conversation to a specific path. We also have the choice block, and this is basically where the user can choose options like yes or no. And then you also have the capture step. So what that is the user types out their query. So for example, their response or their question, and the AI will analyze the contents of that question and find its intents so it can be saved into a variable and move the conversation to a specific path. So onto the logic blocks. So we have the condition step. This is basically an if-then logic path, and based on the path, it can steer the conversation in a certain direction. We also have the set step over here. So if you want to change the contents of a variable or reset it, then you'd use a set block. So we also have the random block, and this allows you to add variation in the conversation. Now the component step, this helps you reuse a flow. So if you already have a flow going and you want to reuse that in a different area in the conversation, you can just put it into a component and then reuse that component. And lastly, we have the end step, and this is pretty self-explanatory. It just ends the conversation wherever it's at. I'm just going to go straight to the developing section because that's what we mostly use to build our chatbots. So firstly, we have the function step, and this is a piece of code that you can write using JavaScript that can perform a task that might not be listed in VoiceFlow. And then we have the API step. This is really useful as it allows you to make custom API calls that connect your assistant to external pieces of data. For example, you can connect your assistant to an Airtable, which is a data storage software. And on that Airtable, you can list all the products that you have in your store. And once you get an API call for that Airtable, the assistant can now access all the products in your store. You also have the JavaScript step, as it allows you to write and execute custom JavaScript codes. This is what we use partnered up with the API key to create a product recommendation system. And lastly, we have the custom action step, and this allows you to do really useful things like live agent handoffs as well as financial transactions. So if the user wants to make a payment then and there, then they can do it through this custom action step. So that's it for this video, nothing too complex, just a very basic introduction to our workspace and the tools that we use in creating your chatbots. If you want to learn more about how we can create a customized chatbot for your store, either DM us on Instagram or book a free call with the Calendly link in the description below.